Move both of those guys right now and get as many prospects back as you can.
Trade deadline approaches.
So it would be logical to move both of those guys right now and get as many prospects back as you can.
What's next for Jonathan Taylor following his trade request?
I've talked to some teams last night that say, look, he can get a respectable contract, only 24 years old, 3 years in the league, not a lot of tread on the tires.
Aaron Rodgers fires back at Sean Payton.
Thought it was way out of line, inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
Plus, the Orioles embarrass the Yankees on Sunday Night Baseball.
The pitch. Swing and a high fly ball. Right field. Way back and gone.
This is Sports Center All Night.
Do you think Travis even needed to say anything publicly yesterday?
You know, he's one of our team leaders, so he felt it, and so he did. I'm just glad, that old, that he's got some juice left in him.
Here's Jay Reynolds.
Love it when they get fired up. Sports Center All Night. ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM, Channel 80. 2016 doesn't seem like that long ago for some. There are others, though, where 2016 feels like an eternity ago. Sometimes it just depends on your perspective. Baltimore Orioles have certainly had their down years. The Yankees have taken advantage, especially of late, but things a little different in Baltimore this summer, and that was on display early in their Sunday Night Baseball matchup.
Here's the 1-2. Swing and a line drive. That's a base hit into right field. In to score is Rutschman. Henderson on his horse. He'll stop at third, throw into second, tag, and save. Santander got his hand in ahead of the tag from Volpe. It's an RBI double, and it's 1-0 Baltimore.
Orioles taking the lead there in the bottom of the first. Safe to say they weren't done in that inning.
Hicks fires. Swing and a line drive. Base hit slicing down the left field line. In to score is Henderson. Santander at his heels. Into second is O'Hearn. And it's 3-0 Orioles. The pitch. Swing and a high fly ball. Right field. Way back and gone. Way out of here. He crushed it over the high wall and right out to Utah Street. And it's all Orioles here tonight. 6-0 Baltimore. Frazier a 3-run jack.
Orioles scoring 6 before the Yankees even recorded an out. It would be a 7-run bottom of the first for Baltimore. They'd tack on another pair in the fourth. They'd go on to a 9-2 win, taking 2 of 3 in the series, meaning Baltimore takes the season series from the Yankees for the first time since 2016. Sunday's game here on ESPN Radio. John Shambi, Doug Glanville had the call for us. Boog?
Jay, thanks very much. The Orioles win it by the final of 9-3 here in Baltimore. And Doug Glanville, Luis Severino has had a rough year, and it got even rougher on Sunday night. The Orioles scored 7 times in the first inning, and that was the story of the game.
That was, and you could see the Orioles lineup working in sync right from the first pitch of the game. They were able to attack Luis Severino's fastball, and this season, four-seam fastball at Severino, opponents were hitting 347 coming into the game, and it actually had to have gone up the way they attacked. Adley Rutschman, we asked him the question of Brandon Hyde, like, okay, you're leading off this young catcher who's getting a lot of wear and tear as a catcher. What's going on? He's like, hey, he's our best hitter. He's the guy that works the count. Well, that's what he was on base 4 times, set the table, and started off in that first inning with a base hit. So they started off lightning quick, and then their pitching, although didn't get a spectacular start from Dean Kramer, but they got the bullpen to come in. And when the tally was up, they had 18 strikeouts of the New York Yankees, who were just not putting the ball in play, therefore not putting pressure on the Orioles defense. And so you have a scenario where the Orioles were able to pitch with a lot of swing and miss, and they got off to a huge lead from the first inning.
One of the things you really like about the Orioles, the back end of that bullpen, and we saw at least part of it in Yennier Cano, who came in, and he was lights out.
He was. Three batters, 3 strikeouts. and you're looking at someone that didn't give up anything, literally nothing in April. I mean, just 0 hits, 0 walks, 0 runs in 11 innings. He was absolutely dominant. They've leaned into him as the setup man to Bautista, and that's what gives the Orioles their swagger. They can afford to play 7-inning games. And if you have a lead, if you're against the Orioles, you don't get them early, you're going to have a lot of problems catching up to that back end of the bullpen. And once again, Cano, we saw the power sinker, the 3 strikeouts in 3 batters.
Dougie, quickly, what do the Yankees need to do in order to turn it around, per se, and make the playoffs?
Aaron Judge, yes, he's one player, but we watched what happens when he's in there and contributing the way he did. The home run yesterday. Aaron Judge is such a difference maker. And if that translates to leadership where the rest of the lineup picks up as they did yesterday, that's the blueprint for how they can really change the future. Because they have good pitching. They can prevent runs. They're just not scoring enough, and certainly a lot of swing and miss tonight.
All right, again, the final 9-3 Orioles beat the Yankees. For Doug Glanville, I'm John Sciambi, right here in your home for every game of the postseason. Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Now we send it to Jay Reynolds in the studio.
All right, Boog, a lot of intrigue as we head towards the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday in Major League Baseball. The trade deadline coming up Tuesday afternoon. Yankees on the losing end of that 9-3 Sunday night baseball game to the Orioles. The Angels, meanwhile, speaking of the trade deadline, bolstering their lineup in a trade with the Rockies Sunday, acquiring infielder C.J. Cron and outfielder Randall Grichuk. Cron hitting .260 with 11 homers, 32 RBI, spent time on the injured list this summer because of back spasms, returning to the lineup in late June. Grichuk, meanwhile, hitting .308 with 8 homers and 27 RBI. Both players original draft picks of the Angels. Cron in 2011, Grichuk in 2009. Sports Center all night, ESPN Radio.
It's not a rebuild, not a fire sale. It's not a liquidation. This is just a repurposing of, Steve's investment in the club.
I can't explain the failure other than to say that maybe Edwin Diaz meant even more to the Mets than we thought he did.
I think they want to wipe 2023 from their memory. And when you're going out and trading for young prospects, the focus may be even more on 2025 and 26 now than it is 2024.
They did trade Max Scherzer to the Texas Rangers. Mets general manager Billy Epler says the team is not, though, tearing down despite being underachievers.
Kind of given the place we're in and the odds we're facing, it was a strategic decision. And, we kind of took this opportunity to kind of serve another goal of the organization, which is to enhance the farm system. So, but I do want to be clear that it's not a rebuild. It's not a fire sale. It's not a liquidation. This is just a repurposing of, Steve's investment in the club and kind of shifting that investment from the team into the organization. So
says it's not a liquidation or a fire sale. See how that holds up as the Mets head towards the Tuesday trade deadline. New York trading Max Scherzer to the American League West leading Texas Rangers for minor league infielder in that high-profile deal that the teams officially announced on Sunday. Mets on Sunday beat the Nationals 5-2. They won 3 of 4 in the series and 20 of the last 30 games played in the series, dating back to the start of 2022. Justin Verlander, who's now in the spotlight, allowed 1 run on 5 hits and 5 1/3, 5 strikeouts, and 1 walk. He threw 103 pitches in the win on Sunday. As for the aforementioned Rangers, they acquired Max Scherzer this weekend. Their manager, Bruce Bochy.
We're pumped about it. We're getting an experienced guy with a tremendous resume, and so we're very excited to have Max join us. I talked to him. He's going to fly in tomorrow. He'll take a bullpen, and right now we have him scheduled to pitch on Thursday. But, I look forward to seeing him, meeting him, getting to know him.
And the Rangers, after learning of their acquisition, then took the field against the Padres.
Padres a 2-1 lead here in the bottom of the 4th. Soto swings at the first pitch and lines one fair down the other way towards the left field corner. Grossman digging it out. Fernando's rounding third. He's going to score easily from first base. Soto into second with an RBI double, and the Padres lead it 3-1. Burke from the third base side of the rubber deal. Sanchez hits one in the air to deep center field. Taveras going back at the wall. It's going to go. Second consecutive inning that Gary Sanchez goes deep. And the Padres add on. It's 4-1.
97.3 The Fan. Padres go on to a 5-3 win over the Rangers. They sweep the series against the Rangers. Second sweep in a series of 3 games or more this season, both coming at home in July. They face the Angels and the Rangers. They still trail by 5 games in the wild card race. Padres and Mets overall this season, despite wins on Sunday, have been 2 underperforming teams this season as we approach Tuesday's trade deadline. ESPN insider Tim Kirchin.
I don't think they can sell. I think they have to keep buying and hope they get exceptionally hot the last 2 months of the season and somehow make the playoffs. Because if they do make the playoffs with that lineup, which should be way better than it's been, very good starting pitching and an elite closer, they could be a very dangerous team in October. But getting there is going to be really difficult to do given the hole that they've dug.
We know that some of the owners were not happy with how much money the Mets and the Padres have spent. What do you think is the reaction of those owners now that both of those teams has struggled?
Well, I'm sure the owners aren't like in a big group now screaming, "We told you so." I'm just not sure that's what's going on here, but it's just another reminder of how beautiful this game is. That you can spend all the money you want. You can gather all the talent that you want, and it still might not work out. That's why, as corny as it sounds, team chemistry, camaraderie, playing together, all that stuff matters more in baseball, maybe even than the other sports. And I think a bunch of owners probably privately are saying, yeah, you tried to mess with the entire financial structure of baseball, and it didn't work out. Lesson learned. Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, is not going to take this personally. He's going to retool this team. He's going to spend more money, maybe not for next year, but certainly for the year after that. It'll be very interesting to see where the Mets go from here.
And again, baseball's trade deadline coming up on Tuesday afternoon, 6 o'clock Eastern time, when Major League teams have to be set. Sports Center all night, ESPN Radio.
I still had my Fox hat on and not my coaching hat on.
You know what beef is?
Someone who's accomplished a lot in the league is that insecure that they have to take another man down to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall.
If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping.
That's the comments of a very little man.
Beef is when I see you, guaranteed to be an ICU.
Sean Payton broke the code. You never call out fellow coaches.
I think he needs to keep my coaches' names out of his mouth.
New Denver Broncos coach Sean Payton, of course, making headlines and thrusting himself into the spotlight when he torched the Broncos' 2022 coaching staff, which was led by current Jets offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Of course, the Jets' new quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, who spoke on Sunday.
Those comments were very surprising. For a coach to do that to another coach. My love for Hack goes deep. You know, we had some great years together in Green Bay, kept in touch. Love him and his family. He's an incredible family man, incredible dad. And on the field, you know, he's arguably my favorite coach I've ever had in the NFL. Just his approach to it, how he makes it fun, how he cares about the guys, just how he goes about his business with respect, with leadership, with honesty, with integrity. And it made me feel bad that someone who's accomplished a lot in the league is that insecure that they have to take another man down to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall if it doesn't go well for that team this year. I thought it was way out of line and inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coaches' names out of his mouth.
Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP at Jets training camp on Sunday, talking with the NFL Network. Aaron Rodgers, longtime Nathaniel Hackett supporter, won 2 MVPs, back-to-back MVPs, when he was at Green Bay. Straight ahead, trying to fix the troubles at Georgia. Sports Center all night continues. It's ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Amber Wilson. Coming up Monday, we continue our ESPN Radio 2-a-days with the Falcons. Do they have enough to compete in a weak division? Don't miss it. 6 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
This is Sports Center All Night on ESPN Radio.
Finding the perfect country soundtrack is easy with TuneIn's Country Road Station. Fill your day with the best music from country pop icons, whether you're cruising your own back roads or stuck inside at work, and everywhere in between, with country favorites from legends like Carrie Underwood or Florida Georgia Line, or some new hits from today's emerging country icons. Country Roads plays the country music you love. Just search Country Roads on TuneIn to listen.
Summertime is here. Yay, summertime. Don't forget to take TuneIn Premium along for the ride. Want to catch up on the latest top headlines? Stay informed with commercial-free CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News Radio. And keep everyone in the car, on the boat, or on the beach happy with ad-free music and less ads everywhere else.
Hey, this is Dua Lipa.
Search Premium to upgrade today.
Instead of fly ball to left, back onto the track.
Hey, baseball fans, this is Buster Olney of the Baseball Tonight podcast. The MLB season is now playing on TuneIn Premium, featuring live home calls of every Major League Baseball team. Only TuneIn Premium gives you access to blackout-free coverage at home or on the road, from walk-off home runs to no-hitters.
He's done it, folks! The 8th no-hitter in history!
All the way through the World Series. Search MLB to start listening.
Wall Street Journal.
Team in WNBA history to start 23-2. The 1998 Comets were the others. Aces have a point differential this season of plus 382, the best over any 25-game span for any team in WNBA history. They have 7 straight wins by double digits. 3 20-point scorers in this game alone. 6th time this season they've had 3 20-point scorers. Storm, 85-62 win over the Fever, 23-point win, tying their largest of the season. The Fever, meanwhile, losing 12 of their last 13, including the last 4. Sky, a 104-85 win over the Mercury. Diana Taurasi, 24 points, 6 rebounds in the loss. Her first game back after missing 3 straight because of an issue with her quad and her toe. Liberty and Sparks.
Still some work to be done for the Liberty. 8-point game. A minute to go. Stewart on the cut. The float and the hit. Huge bucket from Brianna Stewart on the delivery from Ionescu.
Just so cool. If I may, shout out to Stuart Scott. Cool as the other side of the pillow was Stewie knocking down that floater.
Brianna Stewart, 25 points. Saw it on ESPN. 25 points on 9 of 18 shooting. 25 points, 9 rebounds as the Liberty beat the Sparks 87-79. 7th straight win for New York without trailing this season. For Brianna Stewart, 10th 25-point game, tied with Tina Charles in 2016 for the most in a season in Liberty history. Sports Center all night, ESPN Radio. The troubles have continued with players at the University of Georgia and the gas pedal. Defensive lineman Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins last week becoming the latest player charged, clocked at 90 in a 70 zone. There have been at least a dozen Bulldog players charged with moving violations since the team won the national championship in January. The program and Coach Kirby Smart coming under fire for the handling of the issue. Earlier on ESPN Radio, our Peter Burns.
I'd say that right now, Georgia doesn't recruit, they select players. It's a privilege to play for the best team in college football, the gold standard of college football. And right now, if you're Kirby Smart, you say if you get one speeding ticket, I don't care how small, I don't care if it's 0.3 above the speeding limit, guess what? If you're ticketed, you're no longer a member of this football team. That's the type of leadership that I want to see from Kirby Smart and his athletic director, Josh Brooks. You could say it's a speeding ticket, but what happens if it's not? What happens if all of a sudden, after all of this, you haven't addressed it, okay? And something tragic happens again? When you talk about leadership, that's the type of leadership that you need to have. If you're going to say it's on and off the field, make a stand.
Yep.
And Georgia football and Kirby Smart need to do that.
Georgia expected to remain in the spotlight this college football season as well. Sports Center all night, ESPN Radio.
Right now it's just calling. There's really nothing we can do. We're kind of handcuffed with the situation. But the biggest thing is that we're in a position that our production hurts us the most. To go out there and do good, it hurts us at the end of the day.
Change is constant. The league has changed to understand that running backs, as much as they are a lot of fun to watch, they're incredibly replaceable.
We're talking about the NFL devaluing the running back position. Well, guess what? We did too. We don't want to see a running back get it 35 times a game anymore.
Running backs certainly taking the spotlight lately, especially with their valuation in the NFL. Conference call among some of the running backs last week, and on the heels of that, Saquon Barkley ultimately comes to a one-year deal with the Giants. Kansas City Chiefs have certainly been in that spotlight over the past couple of years. Coach Andy Reid on the devaluation of running backs.
Running backs, when I got in the league, were making good money, and all of a sudden the pass game came up, and it's working through the colleges and high schools, and so everybody wants to play wide receiver now that teams are throwing the ball. So devalues that position just a bit, but it'll come around. I mean, it'll work its way back around.
And Andy Reid should know he's got himself a quarterback. Also has a tight end who got a little testy over the weekend. Travis Kelce on social media this weekend said he needed to be a better leader after 2 incidents where he got physical with teammates during practice. Coach Andy Reid?
We got new guys and everybody's competing, and I'm okay with Chippy. That's all right. You got to have an edge, and then you got to maintain that. So it's well and good when it's practice 1 and 2, but you got to keep challenging each other as it goes through.
Do you think Travis even needed to say anything publicly yesterday?
Well, he's one of our team leaders, so he felt it, and so he did. Yeah, that's all right. I'm just glad that old that he's got some juice left in him.
Did you have a message for him after yesterday's?
He grabbed me and said it to me. So yeah, he gets it. He understands.
One thing with testy, there's another with actually throwing a punch at your teammates each time the defender was trying to pry the ball from Kelce at the end of a play. What happens at the trade deadline? Why the failure? That's next. It's ESPN Radio.
Greeny.
If being on Hard Knocks creates any problems for this team, then they were going to have them anyway. You are the most interesting team in the NFL, and the Jets should embrace that.
Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. ESPN Radio Sports Center all night. More next.
And a curveball smacked into left center field.
As a sports fan, you know action. And TuneIn is here to bring you all the action. From nonstop live sports coverage from the biggest leagues.
Ovechkin with a steal. Chance here on the break-in. Kuznetsov fires. Scores!
To in-depth podcasts on what's going on with your favorite teams. And all the game-changing content in between.
Randall, step back 3.
TuneIn is the playbook for sports fans.
Summertime is here. Yay, summertime. Don't forget to take TuneIn Premium along for the ride. Want to catch up on the latest top headlines? Stay informed with commercial-free CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News Radio. And keep everyone in the car, on the boat, or on the beach happy with ad-free music and less ads everywhere else.
Hey, this is Dua Lipa.
Search Premium to upgrade today.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
All the hits. Your country music playlist.
More music, more fun.
Only the classic hits.
Radio has the power to transport you around the world. And now we've got a new way to discover new stations. Say hello to TuneIn Explorer, our map-based view that shows you where your favorite stations and podcasts broadcast from local faves to far-flung gems. It's the new way to blaze your own trail in listening. Ready to set out? Just click on the radio tab to plot your own course.
When it comes to breaking news, we're your window to the world.
When China sees the Navy, for example, we're very happy to see some breathing room for American health.
We've got you covered with CNN, Fox News Radio, MSNBC, and more. When information is power, choose your source wisely. We've got it all here on TuneIn.
All they want are the tools to defend themselves. They've already shown.
Time and time again, our focus was to seek the truth and to make sure that there's accountability.
Multiple shots.
Search news to listen.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's time for the music that's trending on TuneIn.
Hey, we're Old Dominion. Here's a new song from our new project, Some Horses.
Now playing the big 615.
I'm restless and rare with the wind in my hair, going somewhere that I never was. You were holding me knowing I couldn't be broken, and now you're just holding the reins. I love you forever, you should have known better. Some horses can never be tamed.
Hear this music and more on TuneIn. Discover your new favorite sound today.
I'm World Cup champion Megan Klingenberg. Wondering who you should root for at the FIFA Women's World Cup? I'm hosting a new podcast, My New Favorite Futbolista, where I will introduce you to soccer's brightest stars and the causes they are championing. From the 22-year-old American phenom speaking out about student-athlete mental health,
I try to just approach everything with you don't know what someone's going through,
to the U.S. defender who travels to tournaments with her young son.
Am I ever going to be able to run for 5 minutes straight?
Listen to My New Favorite Futbolista.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage.
Sports Center All Night continues with Jay Reynolds.
Sports Center All Night presented by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save. 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com.
Half-hour headlines on Sports Center All Night.
Orioles take their series from the Yankees. The Reds with their third shutout win of 9 runs or more as they post a shutout of the Dodgers. Meanwhile, extra innings for the Giants and Red Sox, and it wound up in a walk-off.
Jock hits a base hit to right field. A line drive right through the hole. Coming in to score is Bailey, and the ball game is over. The Giants have won it, and they take this series from the Boston Red Sox with a 4-3 win.
John Miller, KNBR, 4-3 the final. In 11 as the Giants improved to 7-2 in extra inning games this season. Almost a 78% win percentage, walk-off winning consecutive games for the second time this season. Jock Peterson with the walk-off single in the 11th, his second walk-off hit this season. Speaking of walk-offs, in Pittsburgh,
it's pretty easy. The bunt.
2-0 is slammed to right and deep. Castellanos back, and it's gone. A walk-off home run on his birthday. Josh Palacios wins it for the Pirates.
6-4 the final. Josh Palacios 3 for 5 with a couple of RBIs. First career walk-off home run. First, as you heard, it's his birthday. First player with a walk-off homer on his birthday since Andrew Jones, April 23rd of 2010. As a member of the White Sox, last Pirates player to hit a home run on their birthday was Kai Tom on May 29th, 2021 against Colorado. But the Pirates get the win over the Phillies 6-4, breaking a 5-game losing streak in extra inning games. Sports Center All Night, ESPN Radio.
The Mets are going to be talking with other teams about moving Verlander if they can get his approval.
What I think Brian Cashman is doing is he's just listening. I think people waiting for a blockbuster move at the trade deadline might be disappointed because I just don't know that they have the prospects or the motivation to really completely upend their farm system.
The Padres are going to entertain offers for Josh Hader and Blake Snell. And I think that A.J. Preller can really get a haul for both of them, but really for Hader.
A lot of questions that need to be answered over the next day or so. Baseball's trade deadline coming up Tuesday afternoon, 6 o'clock Eastern time. Mets are certainly in the spotlight. They beat the Nationals on Sunday 5-2. Max Scherzer dealt to Texas this weekend. Now the questions surrounding Justin Verlander.
I guess leave it in fate's hands. See what happens. Obviously, I have a no-trade clause, so I have some ability to control my destiny. Max was obviously supposed to be an integral part of this team next season, one of our starting pitchers. So when you see that happen, you can't help but think what's in store for next year. We play this game to win. You want to win a championship, and you want to have the opportunity to do so. So it changed my opinion a little bit. Yeah, it's tough to see it happen. Like I said, I'm committed to trying to win a championship here. But if the organization decides that that's not exactly the direction that they think is best fit to go for next year and go for it again, then I would be more open to it.
Justin Verlander getting the win on Sunday. 250th career win, most among active major league pitchers. He allowed 1 run on 5 hits and 5 1/3 with 5 strikeouts and 1 walk, an ERA of just under 1.5 over his last 7 starts. But overall this season, Mets certainly falling short of their goals. Why? ESPN insider Tim Kirkchin.
I can't explain the failure other than to say that maybe Edwin Diaz meant even more to the Mets than we thought he did, because this team hasn't been close to the club that won 101 games last year. I am really surprised how much they've struggled in their rotation. I'm equally surprised how much their offense has struggled when it looks to me to be a very good offensive team. But what they had to do now is they had to reset for next year, and that involved the trade of Max Scherzer. Now they're picking up a bunch of that salary in order to move on, and they did get Ronald Acuña's younger brother, who might now be the best prospect in the Mets system. So it wasn't a lost day, but whenever you go into a season having won 101, you're supposed to be in the race for the division title, and you're selling a future Hall of Fame pitcher at the trade deadline, that's not good.
Mets falling short of their goals this season, just like the Padres, although both got wins on Sunday. But there are a lot of questions for which we'll be looking for answers the next day or so. ESPN insider Jesse Rogers.
It is a seller's market, and I think that all those teams we're talking about that are kind of just below the division leaders, all these wild card teams, specifically in the National League, for example, they're all going to be jockeying for some extra arms, especially. Remember, there's no waiver deadline in September that went away a couple years ago. So basically the team you have come Tuesday at 6 Eastern is the team you're going to have all the way to October. And every executive is worried about pitching injuries at this time of year. So they will fortify on the mound as much as they can. There's some relievers out there, still a couple starters. There will be some position players that move, but in general, it's about really fortifying your starting staff and your bullpen. Now, we've seen the big boys move, the Texas Rangers, the Toronto Blue Jays, but I think some of these other teams on the edges are going to make some moves the next couple days.
Who do you think the next big name that we see move will be?
Yeah, I think the Padres are going to entertain offers for Josh Hader and Blake Snell. And I think that A.J. Preller can really get a haul for both of them, but really for Hader. As much of a haul as you can for rentals. But closers at this time of year are so much more valuable in the trade market than they ever are at any other time of the year. You're talking about trading a closer in December. Okay. Whatever, but for a team that wants to win a World Series, that has World Series aspirations, a closer can be the finishing touch. They're 5.5 out of the wild card, all sorts of teams in front of them. They have not been at 500 any time this season. At least the Cubs pushed past 500. I know the Padres have inched a little bit closer here and there. I think one or both are going to move. I could be wrong about that because A.J. Preller is a little bit of a wild card. But as an executive, you have to make the smart decisions. They have unloaded their farm system the last couple years, especially in that Juan Soto trade. This would be a chance to recoup a little bit. There's so many teams in front of you. When you're 5.5 behind in the wild card with 5 teams ahead of you, you're really like 8 or 9 out, because it's not as simple as just making up 5 games on one team. So the fact that they have not reached 500 yet, and I'll just use the Cubs as an example. I'm based in Chicago. The Cubs were using 500 as their line in the sand. If we can get there and in the process close the gap on the playoff teams, we won't make those big sell-off trades. The Padres are not there. They haven't been there. Yes, they've inched close here and there. I don't think it'd be the smart move to double down. The smart move to recoup some of the prospects you've given up and go back at it next year. They have proven not once this year that they're a special team, and there's a lot of other teams in front of them.
ESPN's Jesse Rogers earlier on ESPN Radio. Baseball's trade deadline is Tuesday afternoon. Sports Center all night, ESPN Radio. One of the teams that has been in the spotlight the past couple of weeks, the Angels, although Shohei Ohtani staying put for now. Ohtani and the Angels in action on Sunday against the Blue Jays.
And here's the next pitch, and there's a swing and a ball that's lifted high, and it's hit deep down the left side, and that ball is out of here. Hunter Renfroe comes through here in the 10th inning. That's a 2-run homer. The first hit the Angels have had the entire series with a runner in scoring position, and the Angels lead it 3-1.
3-2 would be the final. Renfroe's 5th career homer in extra innings, first this season. Angels get the win. They improved to 6-4 in extra inning games, including their last 5. Shohei Ohtani 1 for 3 with a couple of walks, 4th straight game with at least 1 hit. Braves continuing their recent success.
Righty deals. 1-1 on the way, and a bullet to deep right field. Back there towards the bullpen. You didn't think he would. He just did. A 2-run homer. And he puts the Braves on top again. It's 8-6 in the 8th.
Matt Olson with a 2-run shot there. Had a 3-run shot in the 3rd. 6th multi-homer game this season. Most in Major League Baseball. He's got 35 on the season. Second most in Major League Baseball behind Shohei Ohtani's 39. Braves beat the Brewers 8-6. Braves 16th game with 4 or more homers this season. And they beat Milwaukee in the process. Reds posting a shutout against the Dodgers.
He cuts it loose. And this ball is smashed deep to right field, way out of here. 4-0 Reds for Ellie De La Cruz, his 7th home run.
Ellie De La Cruz with the home run after hearing chants of overrated from the crowd. His 7th homer of the season. He goes 4 for 5. Now has 20 RBI on the season as well. Reds with a 9-0 shutout of the Dodgers, as heard on 700 WLW. Joey Votto also homers, his 9th of the season, number 351 of his career. Mariners, a 4-0 shutout of the Diamondbacks. They have 16 wins in July, most in Major League Baseball. Rockies, a 2-0 shutout of the A's for their 5th shutout this season, their first since mid-May. Guardians posting a shutout on the White Sox.
The 2-1 swung on, and there's a high fly ball. This one headed deep to right, gone. Jose Ramirez with another home run. Number 17 for Ramirez. A pair of solo home runs in the inning, and the Guardians now lead it 3-0.
It would be a 5-0 win by the end of the ninth. Guardians' 11th shutout victory this season, tied with the Blue Jays for second most in Major League Baseball. The Brewers leading the way with 12. White Sox, their 8th shutout loss this season. Cardinals, a 3-0 shutout of the Cubs. Cubs' 8-game win streak comes to an end. Have been the longest active in Major League Baseball, shutout for the 5th time this season. Cardinals snapping a 6-game losing streak against the Cubs. Sports Center all night, ESPN Radio. Yankees weren't shut out, but they were behind early. They gave up 6 runs before getting it out. They lose 9-3 to the Orioles, who wound up scoring 7 runs in that big first inning. Yankees giving up 6 runs before recording it out for the first time since 1978 against Cleveland. That's the only other instance in the last 60 years. Orioles roll to the victory. They take the season series from the Yankees. First time they've done that since 2016. Their pitching staff had 18 strikeouts. Pretty good night for the pitching staff. And the guy doing the catching on the other half of that battery, Adley Rutschman, who spoke with our Kevin Connors.
You win your 4th series now in the last 6, and this one keeps you in first place, and it's the Yankees. What is the significance of this win for you?
It's just one of those things. We keep grinding every day. Pull out a series win here. That was huge after coming back from last night. Our guys just continue to fight and keep going.
You know, for you, 4 times on base tonight, 15 straight games of reaching base safely. How do you describe your level of confidence when you're in this kind of groove?
I mean, honestly, I'm just trying to take every AB as it comes. Just trying to, win every pitch. And, if I have a bad AB, forget about it, move on, continue to work. And, our head coaches do a great job. I'm fortunate to be around a lot of great guys.
Yeah, there haven't been too many bad ones, though, in between, certainly over the last 15 games. Adley, the consensus seems to be this team has arrived earlier than expected. Why has this team had the success that it's had so far?
I think our expectations are in-house right now. We heard a lot of stuff before the season, but as soon as we showed up for spring training, it was all about us and doing our thing, getting better, and just continuing to work, like I said. And our coaches do a great job of that. And, we show up to the field every day and have fun.
But again, first place here as the calendar almost flips to August. You mentioned spring training. What were the expectations back in spring training?
Our expectations for ourselves were to show up, compete every day, be all about the process and commit to that. And like I said, compartmentalize day by day, pitch by pitch, and just try and win those.
And to be doing this with so many guys that you've come through the minor leagues with, the core essentially is a very young group. How meaningful is that?
It's awesome to see where guys have come from, to be able to play with them all the way up, and to be here now at the highest level. It means everything, and we're just having a lot of fun right now, and guys are getting comfortable, and it's fun to watch.
Adley, Sunday night baseball in the house in Camden Yards for the first time since 2018. And between the funnel and the bird bath out there in left field, what's it like playing in Camden Yards?
Oh, it's awesome. Fans are great. They get excited. We love it when the bird bath's going. We started some new traditions here, and it's been fun to be a part of. And every time the fans get excited, it just energizes us that much more.
Yeah, well, a lot to be excited about. It's a fan base that hasn't celebrated a World Series since 15 years before you were born. As the young star of this team, how meaningful is it to you to be the centerpiece of a team that's doing what it's doing?
Honestly, it's not about the individual guys. It's just our team together doing what we do every day. And I think that's what makes our team so great is just the fact that it's not about the individuals. And we have a real team mentality. And, that's what makes it fun to show up to the yard every day.
And the Orioles, again, taking the season series from the Yankees for the first time since 2016. Defending your health can be a pain in the neck or back, or maybe not. That's next. Sports Center all night. It's ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Amber Wilson. Coming up on Monday, we continue our ESPN Radio two-a-days by previewing the Jets. Have they even done anything this offseason to improve? Don't miss it. 6 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
ESPN Radio Sports Center all night. More next.
Tan lejos, pero te sientes tan cerca cada vez que envías dinero a casa con Remitly. Para sus gastos diarios o días especiales como la boda de la sobrina. Con Remitly pueden obtener su dinero de forma conveniente en bancos y lugares que conocen y confían. Baja la app de Remitly y aprovecha una oferta especial en tu primer envío. Remitly Inc. tiene la autorización del Departamento de Servicios Financieros del Estado de Nueva York para oficiar como transmisor de dinero, la autorización de la División de Bancos de Massachusetts para oficiar como una agencia de transmisión extranjera y la autorización del Departamento de Banca y Finanzas de Georgia, número NMLS 1028236.
Party in a pinch? Hosting is a cinch when you just add mango. Because no matter how you slice it, the absolute party fruit brings it all to the table. Nutrition, versatility, flavor, and of course, celebration. So slice into a mango and bring some sunshine to your shindig. Whether it's a party of one or a house full of fun, mango makes every moment memorable. Mango. A celebration in every slice. Available year-round. Discover more at mango.org.
If you're a country fan, then you love the classics. TuneIn's Vintage Country Station brings you the best tracks from countries past. And with TuneIn Premium, you can go commercial-free to keep the songs coming. That means you'll be listening to Hank Williams, Willie Nelson, Patsy Cline, after midnight, and the rest of your favorites without commercials. It's the greatest songs in country music history, nonstop, every day. Just upgrade to TuneIn Premium today to get started.
All the hits. Your country music playlist.
More music, more fun.
Only the classic hits.
Radio has the power to transport you around the world. And now we've got a new way to discover new stations. Say hello to TuneIn Explorer, our map-based view that shows you where your favorite stations and podcasts broadcast from local faves to far-flung gems. It's the new way to blaze your own trail in listening. Ready to set out? Just click on the radio tab to plot your own course.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's time for the music that's trending on TuneIn.
Hi, I'm Dominic Fike. Hey, this is Scott from Weezer.
We want to try new things, and at the same time, we want it to be recognizably Weezer.
Think Fast, now playing on Alt Hits.
Think fast, you only get one try. Sleep tight, I want to get sunshine. Wake up, you know we got things to see. She talks and nothing makes sense to me.
Hear this music and more on TuneIn. Discover your new favorite sound today.
Hey, true crime fans, have you heard about Dateline 24/7?
SportsCenter All Night continues with Jay Reynolds.
SportsCenter All Night, ESPN Radio. Chalk up another win for Max Verstappen. 8 straight wins as he takes the checkered flag at the Belgian Grand Prix on Sunday. 45th win of his career, 8th straight, second longest streak in F1 history. SportsCenter All Night, ESPN Radio.
Who tweeted that?
Quote, 1, never had a back pain. 2, never reported back pain. Not sure who, quote, sources are, but find new ones.
Who tweeted that?
That coming from the Twitter account of Colts running back Jonathan Taylor, who's requested a trade. Reportedly reported back pain during his pre-training camp physical that was deemed to be from an injury that was not sustained while playing for Indianapolis. Sources telling ESPN the situation now has the team considering whether to place Taylor on the non-football injury list, which could result in the Colts withholding salary this season. ESPN Colts reporter Stephen Holder.
Now, there's some skepticism about this, but they told the team that he felt some back pain. They did some MRIs. They determined, at least by their estimation, that this was a pre-existing injury. So now the question is this something where he should end up on the non-football injury list? He had an ankle injury that was suffered last year, and that had surgery, and that put him on the PUP list. But once that's okay, then this question of the back injury still exists. So that's where we are now, and that's what he's referring to when he says never had a back injury, check the sources. Well, the source is good, but what the perspective of the people involved in the story may be different, right? So that's where we are now.
Certainly a long-term contract option maybe off the table at this point. Speaking of running backs, free agent Dalvin Cook on the sidelines watching the Jets practice Sunday morning. ESPN Jets reporter Rich Cimini.
This has been a day-long visit. He arrived early this morning, took a physical, spent 2 hours on the practice field, watching practice, talking with ownership, talking with team officials out on the field, mingling with players. A crowd of about 3,000 people chanting his name at the start of practice. And then after that, he repaired into some meetings with, I believe Robert Saleh and some other top brass. So if you're a Jet fan, I would take that as a good sign.
The Dolphins and Patriots are also interested, so you just never know how these things are going to go. But quite clearly, the Jets have a lot of interest.
Jets certainly have interest, and if the price is right, they would certainly be interested. Sports Center all night, ESPN Radio. As for the top sounds from Sunday, let's bring in Nick DeLuca.
Number 4.
Jay, Giants fighting for playoff position, hanging on by a game in the wild card race. Jock Peterson keeps them there. San Fran walks off the Red Sox for a second straight day. John Miller on KNBR.
Jock hits a base hit to right field. A line drive right through the hole. Coming in to score is Bailey, and the ball game is over. The Giants have won it, and they take this series from the Boston Red Sox with a 4-3 win.
Number 3.
Series finale in Baltimore, and it was all O's from the start. Adam Frazier bashing on Sunday Night Baseball. Make it 6 in the first. John Shambi on ESPN Radio.
The pitch. Swing and a high fly ball. Right field. Way back and gone. Way out of here. He crushed it over the high wall and right out to Utah Street. And it's all Orioles here tonight. 6-0 Baltimore.
Number 2.
Braves are the Bigs' best team. Matt Olson, one of their best players. National League home run leader, makes it 2 more. Second of the day in the 8th on 680 The Fan.
Righty deals. 1-1 on the way, and a bullet to deep right field. Back there towards the bullpen. You didn't think he would. He just did. A 2-run homer. And he puts the Braves on top again. It's 8-6 in the 8th.
Number 1.
Pirates locked in a close one. Josh Palacio says, let's go home. Fans home happy in Pittsburgh on Sports Radio 93.7 The Fan.
It's pretty easy. The bunt.
2-0 is slammed to right and deep. Castellanos back, and it's gone. A walk-off home run on his birthday. Josh Palacios wins it for the Pirates.
Walk-off homer on your birthday? It has been done before, but not more than a dozen years. Andrew Jones did it April 23rd, 2010, and it gives the Pirates consecutive wins against the Phillies for the first time since 2020. Pirates still 11 games under 500, so the postseason's not all that promising. Then there's the Padres, 4th in their division, 5 games out of a wild card spot with the trade deadline looming tomorrow. Their manager, Bob Melvin.
Look, I try not to pay much attention to it, so I haven't heard a whole lot. Obviously, everybody's playing here, so we do keep this group together because we still think we have a good chance.
Bob Melvin holding out hope. We'll see what the Padres opt to do by tomorrow. Today, Monday, July 31st, birthday of Tim Couch, former Browns quarterback, number 1 overall pick in 1999. Speaking of quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers fires back at Sean Payton yesterday. Much more reaction this morning. Courtney Cronin, Amber Wilson up next. I'm Jay Reynolds. Back tomorrow with Sports Center all night. It's ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Amber Wilson. Coming up on Monday, I'll tell you which young quarterback is poised to take a leap into the top 10 conversation this year. You don't want to miss it. 6 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Envía dinero a casa con la app de Remitly. Gracias a esta app segura, tus familiares pueden elegir recibir el dinero mediante retiro de efectivo, depósitos en bancos conocidos, billeteras móviles o envíos a sus tarjetas de débito directamente. Descarga ahora la app de Remitly. Remitly Inc. está autorizada como transmisora de dinero por el Departamento de Servicios Financieros del Estado de Nueva York y en PR TM 143, como agencia de transmisión extranjera NMA y como transmisora de moneda NRI, NMLS número 1028236.
Wall Street Journal Radio is now streaming commercial-free on TuneIn Premium. From top-line morning briefings to afternoon deep dives on the markets, the economy, and more, invest in your day with WSJ Radio.
I'm J.R. Whalen for the Wall Street Journal.
Discover business news and analysis for the decisions that matter from sources you can trust. The Wall Street Journal, Barron's, MarketWatch, and Investors Business Daily.
50% of the S&P 500's performance.
Just upgrade to Premium to get your daily business news without the ads.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council. You already know that the TuneIn app lets you listen on the go. But did you know that you can listen to TuneIn in your car too? Take TuneIn on the road by staying connected with CarPlay, Android Auto, or Bluetooth. Plus, you can tap on the car icon from the home screen on your app for a simplified experience that's safer for the car. Shorten your commute with all your favorite audio on TuneIn.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Councel.
If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems.
But sports ain't one. Sports.
Drove deep to left field. There it goes.
Thrown it and wide open. Touchdown.
As long as you listen to Sports on TuneIn, you don't have any problems. Sports and Sports Talk is on TuneIn Radio. Search sports to listen now.
When it comes to breaking news, we're your window to the world.
When China sees the Navy, for example, we're very happy to see some breathing room for American health.
We've got you covered with CNN, Fox News Radio, MSNBC, and more. When information is power, choose your source wisely. We've got it all here on TuneIn.
All they want are the tools to defend themselves. They've already shown
Time and time again, our focus was to seek the truth and to make sure that there's accountability.
Multiple shots.
Search news to listen.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Are you always on the go but don't want to miss your favorite music? Then the TuneIn app is the perfect solution for you. Now you can take all your favorite audio with you, wherever you go.
If I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor's out of the league, no one's going to miss us. The league goes on.
The hope here is that Irsay and Taylor's reps can just talk and try to figure something out. It doesn't look good right now based on the relationship, and maybe they can come with an offer down the road.
Jim has been very involved in the day-to-day with this team, and the last 2 years he's been a meddler, and I think he's put his general manager in a truly impossible situation here.
I'm about whatever, man. What they be talking about.
Man, if you went to bed last night, you missed the war of words, or maybe part 4 of this saga between Indianapolis Colts running back Jonathan Taylor and the owner, Jim Irsay. Plenty to catch you up on as we get going on this Monday morning. This is ESPN Radio This Morning. Courtney Cronin, Amber Wilson, reunited for the first time. I want to say it's been about a year. I don't think we have a war of words between us that we need to hash through here, but there is obviously plenty to get to. How are you? It's great to see you as always.
There's also plenty of time, Courtney. I mean, we've got 4 hours here, so we could certainly create a war of words between us when we disagree on some of these hot takes.
We're good at
doing
doing
to
that.
give America, right? We are good at doing that. We used to work together quite literally like every single day. So the fact that we haven't worked together in so long, it is good to be back with you.
It is. It is always good to be back with my girl, Amber. It's always good to be here on ESPN Radio, as always presented by Progressive Insurance. Plenty to get to this morning. We're entering week 2 of training camp across the NFL. I've got my sunburn going. I've tried to cover that up a little bit, but we are failing here nice and early on a Monday morning. But all right, let's just jump into what you need to know on this Jim Irsay, Jonathan Taylor saga. So a couple days ago, there was a Twitter beef that started happening between Jonathan Taylor's agent and Colts owner Jim Irsay. This all stemmed, according to Irsay, from comments that Najee Harris made about the running back position. It apparently wasn't a direct shot at Jonathan Taylor, but the war of words continued. Then we get to Friday, and Jonathan Taylor apparently asking for a trade. ESPN Colts reporter Stephen Holder, who's been pulling double duty on Colts and Bengals coverage the last couple of days, you've probably seen him all over SportsCenter and our various platforms, reported that Jonathan Taylor had actually asked for a trade prior to the news that came out on Saturday after meeting with Colts owner Jim Irsay. And so where we are right now is that Jonathan Taylor, who's been on the PUP list, remember, he's recovering from that off-season ankle surgery. He reportedly, according to Stephen Holder, has reports of back problems, back pain. It came up during his physical when all players reported to teams across the NFL at the start of training camp. So the NFI, non-football injury list, is apparently what the Colts, Amber, are trying to figure out. Are they going to put him on there? Are they going to keep him on the PUP list? So when he reported to training camp, that was last Thursday, this is when this whole thing came up. Then last night, if you went to bed, you missed these tweets. You can see them there on the screen from Jonathan Taylor, that there apparently are no concerns here of a back issue whatsoever. The thing we need to note is that players on the PUP list are due their salaries. Players on the NFI are not. This feels calculated, especially when you think of it from the perspective of the Indianapolis Colts and what Jim Irsay has said about whether he dies tonight, which is a comment he made on Saturday, the league would move on, whether Jonathan Taylor was in it or not. Where are we here this morning on this Monday trying to figure out what this actually means for Jonathan Taylor and potentially whether he stays in Indy or whether he does get traded?
Yeah, Jim Irsay saying that his comments weren't directed at Jonathan Taylor, and then specifically saying if Jonathan Taylor's out of the league, no one cares, right? It's like, what? How is that not directed at Jonathan Taylor? It's an ugly situation, obviously, in Indianapolis, and this complicates it even further with what you're talking about here with this NFI, because it's a way for the Colts to not have to pay Jonathan Taylor, and that's certainly the concern if you're Jonathan Taylor. And frankly, Courtney, you're a little bit younger than me, not that much younger, right? Doesn't everybody at this point, like over the age of like 23?
I wake up with it every morning. Every morning, lower left back.
And you and I
never fails.
Are waking up to roll into another seat to talk in front or behind a microphone. Like that is what we are doing for a living. What Jonathan Taylor is doing for a living at 24 years old is putting his body and his back on the line. Of course, everybody, you could argue, has some semblance of, some sort of pain. This is the problem with the running back position generally too, because it's such a physical position and everybody on an NFL field has some sort of pain. And if it's going to allow teams not to actually pay the player, and this is a workaround when they are going through these issues with the running back, with Jonathan Taylor, who's entering the last year of his deal, a 4-year deal for the 24-year-old, of course Taylor's upset. And what can Taylor do other than demand a trade at this point because he wants his extension? It seems like he's not getting his extension. And Jim Irsay has said, well, we pay players. Okay, but do you pay running backs? And this guy is of the utmost importance to your team, but we're seeing it all over the league in this era that we're living in now.
Yeah, let's hear from Jim Irsay. These are the comments that he made to the Indianapolis Colts beat corps on Saturday from his bus at training camp. Jim Irsay, when asked about Jonathan Taylor's trade request.
I mean, if I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor's out of the league, no one's going to miss us. The league goes on. I mean, we know that. The National Football rolls on. It doesn't matter, who comes and who goes, and it's a privilege to be part of it. And now is the time, for us to do our work. Now is the time as an organization and, players that are, 24, 25 years old. Now is the time to seize the moment of greatness.
I've got to ask you, because I hope I wasn't the only one who heard if I die tonight and thought, does Jim Irsay know he's invoking a great Tupac song from the Me Against the World album. I was hoping to see more memes about this. I think maybe I just went into, my wormhole there of obscure hip hop references from the 1990s. But those comments are striking because it's not from a front office member. It's from the owner of a team. And when we've seen running backs across the NFL, be it Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, all of those players seem to have beef with the front office. Jonathan Taylor now hearing directly from the owner in those comments that were made publicly, that hits a little different when it comes from the guy who's signing off on your paycheck.
He's right. Jim Irsay's right. It is a privilege, I guess, to be playing in the National Football League. Certainly, it's a privilege to own a team in the National Football League, one that the owners earned by making enough money in order to be able to purchase a team, one that the players earned certainly by being able to play themselves there throughout their entire lives. But there aren't many people that are part of that fraternity. And so Jim Irsay has a point just only from that perspective. But it's a privilege for me and you to be sitting here working for ESPN, right? You and I probably both dreamed of it our entire lives because most people in our business want to work for those 4 letters. It doesn't mean that you and I don't want ESPN to pay us.
We like our paper. Just put that on record. We like to get paid.
We like to get paid. I'm very grateful to be here, but also I'm going to need some dollars in my bank account in order to stay here. I mean, that's the reality of the situation, and that's the reality of where Jonathan Taylor is. So yes, I'm sure Jonathan Taylor feels grateful for having an NFL career, but also he earned his NFL career, and he has certainly earned the brightest of lights during his NFL career. I mean, he's arguably the most important player on offense on that entire team. And you're bringing in a rookie quarterback that you're trying to also develop, a guy most people don't think is NFL ready. You're not going to give him help in the backfield in doing that. There's a lot of concerns here, but it's nothing new, Courtney. It's the same conversation that we had about Saquon, right? It's the same conversation that we've had all over the league about all of these running backs this offseason. And for Jim Irsay to say, well, we pay our players, but it seems like maybe they're not going to pay this one, and that it's nothing unusual here as he goes into the final year of his contract. Yes, he has 1 year left on his deal, but also you're talking about a team that in the final year of a deal had no problem paying their center, had no problem paying their linebacker, Shaquille Leonard, had no problem paying their tackle and Brandon Smith and Quentin Nelson and these guys that were all, by the way, entering a final year of a contract and then got an extension before they actually wrote out the final year of their contract. And that's what Jonathan Taylor is trying to get done here. It's why he's demanding a trade. But we're running into the same issue that we've been running into with what power does the running back truly have in this situation?
So the Colts in 2020, let's figure out how we got here. Remember, the year that Christian McCaffrey signed that 4-year deal with Carolina that paid him $16 million on an average annual basis, that's when the Colts traded up to go get Jonathan Taylor, to bring him into the fold. Now you have a rookie quarterback. To your point, I'm looking through the depth chart right now at their wide receiver in the skill position. Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Isaiah McKenzie, fine names, but nothing that you're going to hang your hat on that's really going to help your rookie quarterback develop. And you're toying with the idea that you're going to take away a weapon that should, in theory, Jonathan Taylor coming back from the ankle injury that we knew about, that's why he was on PUP in the first place, he's going to come back and carry a heavy load offensively as Anthony Richardson gets acclimated to the NFL, as he learns how to play quarterback, and you take away that option, what do you have on offense? So it's a slippery slope for the Indianapolis Colts from that regard. It's also a slippery slope with this trade request that came through. So if Jonathan Taylor really does want out, when you think about teams that would potentially trade for him, who wants a 1-year rental at the running back position when we know about running back contracts and where the league stands right now and paying those players? It's very delicate. And knowing what we know about Jonathan Taylor putting this trade request in, according to ESPN NFL Nation reporter Stephen Holder, it came a couple days ago, where things stand going forward is that that's now been muddied by the fact that he apparently has this back injury. And this was news to everybody around the NFL. We all thought he was dealing with that ankle, which makes you think, is this the Colts trying to flex their power a little bit and put it out there to make Jonathan Taylor play on this last year of his rookie deal, to make him, I guess, succumb to the fact that he isn't going to get paid by the Indianapolis Colts? Let's hear from Stephen Holder. He was on Game Night on Sunday about what developed on Sunday, the initial report about the ankle injury and where things stand going forward.
Now, there's some skepticism about this, but they told the team that he felt some back pain. They did some MRIs. They determined, at least by their estimation, that this was a pre-existing injury. So now the question is this something where he should end up on the non-football injury list? He had an ankle injury that was suffered last year, and that had surgery, and that put him on the PUP list. But once that's okay, then this question of the back injury still exists. So that's where we are now, and that's what he's referring to when he says never had a back injury, check the sources. Well, the source is good, but what the perspective of the people involved in the story may be different, right? So that's where we are now.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor responding to that last night. 1, never had back pain. 2, never reported back pain. That is from Jonathan Taylor's Twitter account. This war of words, I don't actually know where we go from here, Amber. It just feels like we've laid out the situation, and it's tricky, it's tenuous, and it doesn't feel like it's going to be over anytime soon.
No, I mean, it doesn't feel like the Colts want to trade him, despite his request to do so. And they're tanking his value around the league. So I don't even know who's offering him a contract after this year, because now we know about the ankle injury that did, of course, affect him this past season. It's coming up the PUP list there. I mean, we're talking about a running back that the season before had led the NFL in rushing for over 1,800 yards. But we know how this works. This is a guy in his mid-20s. And when we talk mid-20s for these guys, and yes, he is only 24 years old, which to the rest of us, I mean, he could practically be my son. However, when we're talking about that particular position, mid-20s, it's like you get done with your rookie deal, and then that's kind of it. And that's been the conversation around these guys. Who's going to pony up and offer him what he wants in another season, when now the Colts are making it so obvious that he also maybe has these other complications in terms of his body and these injuries? And so they're kind of tanking his value, maybe tanking his trade value as well. It's only $4 million that he's owed this season if somebody was to trade for him, but it doesn't feel like the Colts are interested, frankly, in having that conversation. And I would imagine that teams aren't going to be willing to give up much for a running back that you may not want to pay then, who's only a 1-year rental.
All right, there's plenty more to get into here on the Colts front, on the Jonathan Taylor front, how this thing could potentially go. We're going to do that over the course of the next couple hours here on ESPN Radio this morning. You can tweet to us, my handle at Courtney R. Cronin, Amber's at Amber W Sports. You can also hit us up on the phones, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Straight ahead, Aaron Rodgers did not let Sean Payton's comments about his favorite coach go unanswered. We dissect next here on ESPN Radio.
secure that they have to take another man down to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall if it doesn't go well for that team this year. Thought it was way out of line and inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
That exclusive interview with Aaron Rodgers is on NFL Plus. You can sign up today at plus.nfl.com to view the full Aaron Rodgers interview and more content from Back Together Weekend and Week 2 of training camp. Keep my coach's name out of your mouth. Yeah. Like, what a threat. Like, what is that accomplishing, Aaron Rodgers, other than just, like, getting these bars off and, like, you know, being in your feelings about somebody saying something that was kind of true about the guy that you love so much and says it's your favorite coach ever.
Aaron Rodgers being in his feeling, who would have thunk it, Courtney? We never saw it coming. Also, what's funny to me is Sean Payton never said anything about Nathaniel Hackett as a father or as a husband, right? I mean, it wasn't like he took a blowtorch to Nathaniel Hackett as a person. He just said that he didn't do a good job in Denver last season. And oh, by the way, we all know Nathaniel Hackett didn't do a good job in Denver last season. It wasn't that groundbreaking what Sean Payton said.
No, not at all. And this goes nowhere other than maybe providing another storyline to that Week 5 game. As Amber mentioned, those two teams end up facing off against each other. The drama, of course, will ensue, and we will be talking about this one for a while. Speaking of the Jets, they had a running back, pretty prominent one, in the building yesterday for training camp. Are they going to sign Dalvin Cook? Did this actually accomplish anything? We get into that next after Amber has this from Granger.
For the ones who get it done, Granger offers high-quality supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as access to product specialists who have the knowledge and experience to answer your toughest questions. Plus, their commitment to being your safety partner can help you keep your facility safe and your people even safer. Call clickgranger.com or just stop on by.
ESPN Radio's NFL Two-A-Days continue. An in-depth preview of every team in the National Football League.
So badly want to bring Super Bowl here.
NFL Two-A-Days. Two teams every day. Up next, the New York Jets and the Atlanta Falcons on Monday. NFL Two-A-Days continues right here on ESPN Radio.
Finding the perfect country soundtrack is easy with TuneIn's Country Road Station. Fill your day with the best music from country pop icons, whether you're cruising your own back roads or stuck inside at work, and everywhere in between, with country favorites from legends like Carrie Underwood or Florida Georgia Line, or some new hits from today's emerging country icons. Country Roads plays the country music you love. Just search Country Roads on TuneIn to listen.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
2024 is coming, and the race for the White House is already underway. Get the latest news from the team you trust, such as CNN.
We are not in that ballpark. 219, 216 leading right now.
Fox News Radio.
You could take the 5 worst presidents. They would not have done the damage.
MSNBC.
12 million new jobs. More jobs in 2 years than any president created in a 4-year term.
And more, with the facts you won't hear anywhere else. Hear the news you trust on TuneIn.
You already know that the TuneIn app lets you listen on the go. But did you know that you can listen to TuneIn in your car too? Take TuneIn on the road by staying connected with CarPlay, Android Auto, or Bluetooth. Plus, you can tap on the car icon from the home screen on your app for a simplified experience that's safer for the car. Shorten your commute with all your favorite audio on TuneIn.
In case you lost track of time, it's summer. The kids are home and family activities await. No matter what your summer holds, make the most out of it with TuneIn Premium. You can catch up on the news in no time with commercial-free CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News Radio. Soundtrack the summer with non-stop tunes from your favorite TuneIn music channel. And enjoy less ads on 100,000 more stations from around the world. Search Premium to upgrade today.
Baseball fans, it's that time of the year again. The weather is getting warmer, and the boys of summer are taking the field. And if you're a fan of the MLB, you're in luck, because TuneIn is bringing you live coverage of every game. That's right. With TuneIn, you'll never miss a pitch, a hit, or a run. Whether you're at home, at work, or on the go, you can follow your favorite teams and players in real time. Search MLB or tell your device to play your favorite team on TuneIn to get in the game.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Today's news can feel like uncharted waters. But more often than you'd think, we're not the first generation to confront what we're dealing with today.
We're just the first generation to make a podcast about it.
I'm Rachel Maddow.
I'm Isaac Davey Aronson. Each week, we'll bring you a story from history
that helps with something in the headlines today.
Rachel Maddow presents Deja News with Isaac Davey Aronson, an MSNBC podcast. Listen now on TuneIn.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The TuneIn app is the most convenient way to access all your favorite audio on the go. Download the TuneIn app and stay plugged into wherever your day takes you. With TuneIn, you can listen to the best music, podcasts, talk shows, and sports, no matter where you are. Search for TuneIn in the App Store to download the app today.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents.
Swing and a high fly ball. Right field. Way back and gone. Right out of here. He crushed it over the high wall and right out to Utah Street. And it's all Orioles here tonight. 6-0 Baltimore. Frazier a 3-run jack.
That's how it sounded on ESPN Radio as Adam Frazier hit a 3-run homer as part of a 7-run first. For Baltimore, the Orioles go on to a 9-3 victory over the New York Yankees. Over to the NFL, Colts running back Jonathan Taylor, who has requested a trade, reported back pain during his pre-training camp physical that was deemed to be from an injury that was not sustained while playing for Indianapolis, a league source told ESPN's Stephen Holder. The situation now has the team considering whether to place Taylor on the non-football injury list, which could result in Indianapolis withholding his salary, the source said. On Sunday night, in a message posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, Taylor said he, quote, never had back pain. SportsCenter is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com.
Hey, let's go do our job, man.
NFL Nation Two-A-Days on ESPN Radio. The New York Jets.
158.
This is Rich Cimini covering the Jets. It's all about Aaron Rodgers and how quickly he can galvanize the offense. Rodgers knows the system, and he has a close rapport with OC Nathaniel Hackett, but most of the players don't. Rodgers is very particular. He wants things run his way. The Jets are giving him that freedom. Actually, that's one of the things that appealed to him about the Jets. Right now, he's trying to be a mentor, teaching the young players. He's also learning about his new teammates. Which guys can he trust when it gets real? This is very much a feeling out process and a race against the clock for week one. The Jets also have some moving parts on the offensive line, which certainly doesn't help matters.
Countdown to kickoff with NFL Nation Two-A-Days on ESPN Radio.
Courtney Cronin, Amber Wilson with you on ESPN Radio this morning. Hope your Monday is getting off to a good start. As always, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. So you heard it there, the team that we've been talking about all offseason, from the time Aaron Rodgers announced on Pat McAfee's show his intentions to join the New York Jets, to the time that he actually got traded there, to the $35 million spiteful pay cut, Amber, that he took last week. I still cannot get over the fact that Aaron Rodgers was willing to stick it to Green Bay that much to take a $35 million pay cut. I know he's made so much money and will probably never have to worry about those $35 million that he left on the table. But I just look at the roster, the way that this team is constructed, and think about the financial restrictions that they might have had, and now the freedom and flexibility that they do have, and think, is there somebody out there, maybe a running back named Dalvin Cook, that they might want to add and might have more finances to do so?
Yeah, amazing how that financial flexibility could have, helped keep Devontae Adams in Green Bay once upon a time, but apparently he didn't want to provide it back then. So here he is, being ultimate team player guy, Aaron Rodgers, now that he's in New York. I agree with you, somewhat of a petty move as well, but petty to the advantage here of his new team. Dalvin Cook would be a great addition to that team. Dalvin Cook has revealed that Aaron Rodgers has personally recruited him to the New York Jets. And of course he has. Who wouldn't want Dalvin Cook? Who wouldn't want more help in the backfield there for New York? He certainly would be a player that would help them when they have a position coming off of injury there for the Jets anyways. I hate this as a Dolphins fan. I hate the idea of Dalvin not just not going to Miami, but staying inside the division, which, by the way, the other two teams that he's flirted with are both inside the division here. Dalvin really seems to want to find his way to that AFC East. I just don't know how much I believe this, because I feel like Dalvin Cook wants to be in Miami. And so I wonder, Courtney, is this Dalvin Cook's way of just trying to get the Dolphins up because that's really where he wants to be? Of course, he grew up in Miami. He went to Miami Central for high school there in Miami, and he has a home in Miami. So I would imagine that some of this flirtation with the Jets, and boy, has it been public, and he's at training camp, and everyone's chanting his name at the beginning of training camp over there in New York. I would imagine some of it might be to put some pressure on the team that it feels like he actually wants to be with.
Certainly feels like a leverage play here. Maybe a smart one. Maybe it does end up driving up the price on that offer that I believe came right after from Miami, right after he was released by the Minnesota Vikings. The Miami Dolphins swoop in right away and get him down there and put an offer on the table, which he didn't agree to. So clearly he's looking to make probably a more significant payday than what's out there right now. Does it actually lead to that? Well, we know the state of the running back market. Saquon Barkley having to concede more or less to get that $2 million up front of his franchise tag just to get in the training camp. And we've seen what it's done to Jonathan Taylor, to Josh Jacobs, to Tony Pollard, other running backs. I don't know how Dalvin Cook is going to get a sizable deal that's probably not already on the table, but it's a smart move either way. You got to keep your options open, and one of those options is the New York Jets. Now, if he ends up there, I don't know if it really moves the needle for me, Amber, all that much, because I think about where this team is coming off a 7-10 season, the pressure to win right now. So it might year. Quarterbacks, obviously a very different one under center last year in Zach Wilson, and then Mike White, 29th in total QBR. They were not great on third down.